Today is Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. It is day 184 of Blender, and I'm going to do another text animation with geometry nodes. So I'll click on a general file, go up, scroll down, go to geometry nodes. I'll hide the spreadsheet, and then I'll click on new for a new geometry node system. I'll disconnect the input from the output, and then I'll do Shift A to add a string to curves node and put that right in here and connect that to the output so that I could actually see it. But I can't see anything yet because I don't have anything set as my string. Today I'm going to do something like sport related, so I'll do Kobe 24 just because my font is going to be sport related. Then I'm going to do Shift A and get a transform node and put that right in between these two nodes, and I'll make sure that the rotation, I change it to 90 on the X so that it rotates 90 degrees along the X-axis, in which this case is the red one. Now to give it some fill, I'll do Shift A and I'll do fill curve node and change the fill type to n-gons, and then I'll do Shift A and add an extrude mesh node to give the letters some thickness, and I'll change that to be 0.1. And then if I look in the back though, I notice that it's not filled in the back, it's hollow. So to fix that, I'll do Shift A and do a join geometry node and put that right in here and connect the fill curve into that to join both the extrude mesh geometry and the fill curve geometry. So nice, right? And then onto the font, I'm going to just go back to the string to curve node and go to the folder. And I downloaded this font from thefont.com. It's Emilio 20 by Adian Gunaldan. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But yeah, I downloaded it. I have it over here on my desktop. Let's see where it is. This one over here, and now it's looking like this. Alright, and then onto the coloring, or the material part. So I'll do Shift A and get a set material node and put that right at the end, and just select the first material that I have. And then I'm going to do Control S to save this. Alright, and once I save it, I'm going to go to shading, and that's going to be my shading workspace where I'm going to just kind of give each letter their materials. So each letter is going to be a different color, and I'm going to use this color palette site, kind of like with the Kobe colors, so like blue, yellow, and white. So I'll do that over here, and what I'll do is I'll add a color ramp. So I'll do Shift A and add a color ramp, put that in here, and I'll do Shift A, add an object information node, and then I'll make sure that I connect the random to the factor so that the colors are randomly assigned to each of the letters, and then I'll connect the color to the base color, and then I'll go back over here and just kind of copy the first color and just select the little tag, select the little box with the color and change the hex, paste that in there, and then I'll also go back and just get more of the colors. So I'll do this, and then I'll paste that in there, and then I'll go, oops, wrong thing, and then I'll select the white one also, and add another one with the plus sign, and just select that color, and just change the hex code. Now here's the problem, I don't want it to be a linear gradient of the colors, I want the letters to have exactly the color that I told it to. So instead of linear, I'm going to change it to constant, and then that should, work, and it should be each of the exact colors that I want. So let me just do something like that. And kind of play around until I like what I see. Alright, let me go to front view by pressing the button under the escape key and hovering over front. Okay, so something like that. And then, let's see, I'll go back into geometry nodes to get to the animation part. I'm going to click on the layout, and I'll do Shift A to add an empty, make sure it's a sphere, go to object data properties, change to an arrow, a single arrow, go back over here, and then here I'm going to add a Shift A translate instances node, and that's going to move my letters, right? But I don't want them to move all at the same time and all at the same place. So what I'll do is I'll go and grab the empty from my outliner. I'm going to drag it into here, and that's going to give me the object information node of the empty. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a vector math node, and I'm going to change that to distance so I can calculate the distance between the empty and each of the positions of the letters. So Shift A position, so that's one vector, and the location of the empty is another vector. And then this distance value is what's going to determine how far they're going to move. So now you can see that. Alright, and then I do want it to move along the y-axis in geometry nodes, so I'll go to do Shift A, combine XYZ and put that in here and make sure it's connected to the Y and not the X. So now it's moving along here. But here's the problem that I noticed. The closer the empty is to the letter, the lower it is, and the farther it is from a letter or number, in this case, the higher it is. And I want the opposite. So what I'll do is I'll do Shift A and get a color ramp node. And I'll put that in here and just go to the little arrow over here and just flip the color ramp. And now it's looking more realistic. So as I move it along, now you can see it has a bouncy effect. And the closer it is, the higher the letter goes. Alright, and then I'll just kind of move it right before it starts affecting the letter K. Alright, and then I believe that's literally pretty much it. So now let me go to the layout and kind of animate this for my rendering. So I'll pull up the timeline and I'll press N to pull up my end panel. I already have it right before it starts affecting the letter K, but I'm going to just change the end to 80 because I want my video to be 80 frames. And I'm going to hover over this specific location, and then I'm going to press I to insert that location keyframe on my timeline, and it should appear. That's weird. Let me do that again. Let me delete this, delete keyframes. Okay, click on the empty. So at frame 1, I wanted to kind of start at the beginning, right, where everything is still settled, and that for me is negative 1.1833 meters. And so I'm going to hover over that location, I'm going to press I for the empty, and that's going to insert a location keyframe on my timeline. And then by the end of the video, which is keyframe 80, I want it to be all the way at the end. So I'll move it over here in the layout all the way to the end, like right after it stops affecting the number 4, and I'll hover over 4.8361 meters in the location in the end panel, and I'll press I to insert that keyframe. And now if I play it, it's just going to go through the video really nicely. And then there's one more thing. If I play it, you notice that it kind of goes up and down like in the same speed. So the way to fix that is if I go to geometry nodes and I can do Shift A and add a float curve and kind of put that right here before the XYZ and just kind of click on it and just move it over here, and now it's going to move a little bit more smoother, kind of like that. See, so it's going to stay up a little bit. It's really nice. Alright, so now, okay, and then now at this point I'll do Shift A, mesh, and add a plane, S to scale, G to grab, X to grab along the X-axis, Tab to go into edit mode, edge select over here at the top left corner, select the back edge, E to extrude, and then Z to extrude along the Z-axis, and then I'll go to the modifier and add a bevel, increase the amount and the segments, apply that, right-click, shade smooth. Alright, and then actually, maybe I'll do Control Z and kind of increase this a little bit more, and then apply it. Okay, and then S to scale it along the X-axis, just kind of do that a little bit more. Alright, then bring down the timeline. And then I'll go into the rendered preview just to see it rendered. Okay. Alright, and this is what it's looking like. Now I'm going to press the button under the escape key and hover over front to kind of set my camera up to the view. Then I'll do Control Alt Numpad 0. If that doesn't work, go to Edit, Preferences, go to Input, and then make sure Emulate Numpad is on. It should be at the top. If that still doesn't work, then it's probably because you don't have a camera, so do Shift A and add a camera. So I'm just going to get out of here by clicking the middle mouse button to go back into the view. I press on 0. But I'm just going to go a little bit more upwards. And let's see how that would look like. Alright, that's good. Press Escape. And then I'm going to work with the lighting. So I'll select the light and I'll make sure I'll go to Object Data Properties, change it to a sun, and change the strength to 3. And then I'll do G and to grab it along the Y-axis, and then R to rotate it facing towards this, and then press 0 to kind of look back at how it is, and then maybe turn off the shadow. Alright, I think that's good, and then let me go ahead and pick a background color or a base color for the backdrop. Maybe black like this. So the colors stand out. I think that's fine. And then let's see. I'll go ahead and just do Control S to save it, and then I'll go to Output Properties, go to the output and create a folder for my images to go into. So I'll go to Blender and create a folder called 81022, that's the date, accept, and then make sure file format is PNG. And so all of my 80 images, when I render animation, are going to render, all of my 80 frames are going to render as 80 PNG images. And yeah, that's it. Alright, and then once you go to the folder and they're done rendering, let me just check if they're done. So I'll have to go to desktop and go to Blender and then go to the folder that I just made today and then check if all the 80 frames are there, and they are. So then you go to the top and then you go to the plus and then video editing, so scroll down and then move the marker all the way to the left and then add image sequence and then go to desktop and then go to Blender or whatever folder that you have it in, and then select the first image, scroll all the way down and shift select the last image and then add image strip, and then it just puts all your images together, which is really, really cool. And then you just go back to output properties and then go to the output, just change the folder, or you could leave it there, but I could create a new folder for the video to render into, except the file format should be FFmpeg video. Under encoding, container MPEG4, and then the output quality should be the high quality. Control S to save and then go to render and then render animation, and then it should be really quick and nice and pretty. So let me just open up that video. And this is the final result in a few seconds. I don't know why every single time I do this it just goes away. Okay, this is it.